Welcome back, everyone. Thanks again to Guidewire for sponsoring our afternoon tea as well. Our second keynote speaker for today is Stephen Barnham. Stephen is the Global Chief Digital and Information Officer at Dai-ichi and has been in technology for 30 years, leading large-scale digital transformations. He has built and run global businesses in the banking and insurance sectors and works across several markets, including the UK, India, China, and Japan. Stephen's passion for insurance is driven by his ability to directly impact customers and communities in their most vulnerable times. He remains in the industry because he believes there is so much more to be done in insurance, and he sees the power that technology can play in these transformations. He is actively reimagining insurance. We'll once again be doing a Q&A after with Stephen, so make sure that you use that QR code on the back of your lanyards to send in your questions as well. Welcome, Stephen.
Thank you. So I knew I'd be speaking in Sydney today, and I figured as it's an Ashes year, I should start with a sporting story. So obviously, I picked Formula One. I want to tell a story about a car rental, although not this car. And the other day, my wife and I decided to rent a car. It was a long weekend in Japan, and I said, oh, that car rental company has a great new app, and it's AI powered and everything. It's going to be a great experience. So I tried to book the car with the app. I filled in all my details, and it asked for my driving license. So I took the photo with my driving license, and it said processing driving license. So I said, oh, this will come through really quickly, and it will be fantastic. I'm probably not going to meet a human in all of it, and it's just going to be all automated. So I was still waiting an hour later, still processing my driving license. I wait another hour, still processing, go to bed, wake up the next morning, still processing. The weekend approaches, the family's getting very nervous. Am I going to be able to rent this car? My wife just says, just ring them up. I said, no, I'm trusting in digital. I said, all right, but if you mess up the weekend, you'll be very unpopular in our family. So finally, it's still processing. It gets to late Friday afternoon, and I give up, and I call them. And I said, is everything okay? And they said, the driving license is still processing. And he said, oh, yeah, I haven't had a look at it yet. And I said, well, what do you mean you haven't had a look at it yet? He says, what happens is you just take a picture of the driving license, and I check it manually to see that it's okay. And I said, well, what's the point of that? What's the point of having an app? He says, well, I don't really know. It's exactly the same. So I said, oh dear. So I was a bit disappointed, but I thought, anyway, next day I'll go, and no doubt I'll just go, and the app will open the car, and the keys will be there, and off I'll go, and I'll never meet another person. So I go there again, and he comes, and he says he's almost happy to see me. And he says, oh, hi, I've come to hand over the paperwork and give you the keys and everything. And I said, well, doesn't the app unlock the car? What's the point of having the app? And he says, everybody seems to have app these days. So we rolled out an app, but largely they still employ me, and the processes are just exactly the same. And so that was it. So that is a story which I just want to keep in your mind, and you'll see how this fits into what I want to talk about. So why is a CIO, who's been a CIO probably for too long, wants to pose this question? And that's what I'm going to explore and get into. Could technology, in fact, be useless? Could technology, at least in its early days, fail in its promises? And if it does, why does it do that? And I'll start with an insurance story. So I was at an insurer in the last few years. I won't name who it is. I was walking across their operations floor, and I saw this. And I said to the operations manager, what's that? And he said, well, a few years ago, we rolled out some RPA robots, and we programmed the robots to replicate keystrokes. And so I said, then you just snatched all the laptops away from all the users, and you put them in a Perspex box. And he said, yes. I said, oh, okay. So I said, what kind of productivity uplift did you see from that? And he said, we saw a 2.67% recurring productivity uplift. And I said, well, that's a bit disappointing, because didn't you tell me that this cost multiple millions of dollars? He said, yeah, we don't know really why that was. We had big expectations from these RPA robots. But we rolled them out, we didn't really change anything. We just replicated what the humans were doing in the first place. So car rental, RPA robots. Let's go back in time a little bit. Go back nearly 150 years to the age of steam. And if you'd walked into a factory anywhere in the world, it would be dark and it would be very noisy, it would be dirty, and it would be run by a centralized steam engine. And there used to be these massive steam engines, and they would be chugging away, and if they failed, the whole factory would shut down. Complete reliance on centralized processing. And then something wonderful was invented, electricity. And Thomas Edison, in addition to inventing the light bulb, he commoditized electricity. And he set up a transformation station in Holborn in London and also in New York. And he was selling electricity. Yet by 1905, not 10 years after this new technology had been introduced, productivity levels hadn't risen. And in the United States, 90% of factories were still steam-driven, steam lingered for some reason. So what is happening here? We just looked at 3 cases where we have some new technology introduced, yet it disappoints in some way. We don't see the productivity. We don't see the customer experience we expect. What could it be? The path to benefit realization seems long. Could it be that actually the technology was rubbish? It just doesn't work as it was promised. Or could it be that we're not measuring it in the right way? Another story. I live in Singapore most of the time, and during COVID, I used to really enjoy doing walking meetings in the botanical gardens. They're really beautiful if you ever visit Singapore. And one night, I was walking through the botanical gardens with my wife, and we hear this strange noise. And the botanical gardens are pitch dark, and it feels like you're walking through a jungle. And so when you hear some strange noises, you get a little bit worried as to what strange animal you might meet. But as we approached the noise, there was a flickering light, and it turned out that it was one of these. It was a robot lawnmower, and it was cutting the grass. And I wondered at what was probably the AI engine behind it. And as I was thinking about it, the inner gardener in me, I was a gardener when I was a student, thought, this is a bit strange. There's something missing from this. And I couldn't quite work out what it was. I was used to using contraptions like this. And if you cut grass, generally what you do is you cut grass once a week, once a month or so, and all the clippings gather in the black box. And when that's full, you empty it out and you repeat, and you keep doing that. And so going back to the robot, the thing that was missing was the black box. What did it do with the clippings? There was no human there. It was the middle of the night. And then it dawned on me. The administrators of the park had completely reimagined the process of cutting grass. And they had programmed the robot to cut grass every day, not every week. And if you cut grass every day, the clippings are only a few millimeters long. And you can leave it on top of the live grass and it won't kill it. If you cut grass every week and you leave the grass on top of that volume of grass will kill the live grass. And in this way, they can run the robot in out of business hours when not many people are in the park. They don't need a human to attend to it. And they gained some significant efficiency from rethinking the process. Back to the electricity story. At the turn of the last century, suddenly factories started to see a massive upboost in productivity. The light bulb literally had come on in the heads of entrepreneurs, and they'd realized they were not using electricity in the way that it had so many benefits. They were using electricity in the same way as they had used steam, and they'd put a big fat electric motor into factories. They'd found it very expensive, and they didn't see commensurate efficiency measures, and so they didn't bother to expend it. But they realized that electric motors can be miniaturized. So this person is a jewelry polisher. There is a motor driving her machine. If that motor breaks down, she can have it repaired She works completely independent of the rest of the factory. All of the other factory workers are working independently of each other. You can run shifts and you can drive far higher levels of productivity because the whole business model of running a factory has been rethought in not a dissimilar way to the way that grass cutting was rethought. This concept has been developed by an MIT professor called Eric Bridge-Norson. It's called the paradox of productivity. And it was inspired by the Nobel Prize winner Robert Solow's this quotation. And this is what I was speaking about. You can see technology everywhere. You can see AI everywhere. But have we actually yet seen the promise of the productivity improvements? Going deeper into what Bridge-Norson's research, he thinks one of the major reasons that we don't see return from technology so quickly is because we don't account for intangibles. So changing existing processes. So you compare the car hire, which is basically putting digital on top of some existing processes, to cutting the grass, where the grass cutting was completely reimagined. Thinking about new business models, think about the factory and the steam engine and how the business model of running a factory was completely reimagined. And then something that I think is very close to home when we start to think about the new digital tools and new AI large language models, how do we think about our talent? Are we training our talent in these new tools? Are we training our talent in how to think about these new tools so they can reimagine their own processes and get the biggest benefit out of them? And then finally, are we just applying tools to existing organizations? The organization that got us here is going to be the organization that gets us there. Got an example here. I forgot one of my props. I actually do still have a BlackBerry from 15 years ago. For those of you who may not know, on the right-hand side, that is something called a BlackBerry. And 15 years ago, that was the device to have. Business people lived and died by it. It invented the category of mobile email, and it had some telephony as well. And it was the thing. We could not imagine anything else. It was ubiquitous. Steve Jobs was there going on about his iPhone, and some of us, and I have to include me, we wondered what on earth anybody would possibly need to watch videos at the office, and what possible corporate use could there be for small form videos. Yes, well, but Steve Jobs is quite a smart guy, and he completely rethought the category. He saw huge demand from the customer base, and he thought, why do I need to satisfy that demand? I cannot possibly do that. BlackBerry with Steve Lazarides was trying to do everything for the customer. Instead, Steve Jobs thought that he would get the customer to do it, and he invented the App Store, and the rest is history. And those of you who have not heard of BlackBerries, that's one of the reasons. Reimagining the business model to get the most out of the technology. Now, coming back close to home, AI's been around a long time. This isn't even in the first form of AI with Turing and the Turing machine, and how he used technology to crack the Enigma code during World War II. And that is 80 years ago. And we've waited 80 years, more than 80 years, to come up to date. Now, this is some statistics from Bain, and it's got 2 years. The right-hand side block is 2023, the left-hand side block is 2024. The red is what is actually in production and what is being used, and the gray are POCs. And you can see that the number of POCs year on year are increasing in AI. So AI, we hear about it every day. Sometimes it feels as though we hear about it every minute. And especially in our industry, are we seeing the same kind of returns as I experienced with the car hire, or what we saw with RPA and I saw on that operations floor, the 2.67% return? And is this because we are not thinking enough about Bridge-Olufsen's intangibles. So before this, I asked, I think it was 4.0, I said to 4.0, please design me a picture with AI and imagine the future of AI and insurance. Can anybody spot what's wrong with this? The monitor's backwards, yeah. So I think in addition to Bridge-Olufsen's intangibles, I think there is the power of human imagination, and in this case it's AI. And sometimes the technology just looks as though it's capable of doing everything. I was just talking to somebody about self-driving cars. Self-driving cars has been in San Francisco for many years, but there aren't many self-driving cars around the place yet. So we first see it and we think, wow, it's going to take over the world. And we first see robots and perhaps we imagine something like this. But of course, insurance isn't going to get disrupted like in this way with AI. It's going to be something else. And more prosaic things. And at Dai-ichi, where we're focusing and we're reimagining our organization, putting a focus on training our talent, are in these areas of the insurance train. Thinking about underwriting. Underwriting represents one of the biggest areas of friction with our customers. Imagine having a product where a customer comes and says, I want to buy the product, and you say, sorry, I can't tell you how much it is. I can't even tell you whether I can sell it to you or not. But I'm going to ask you to go and extract blood and other fluids somewhere else, and then get that results back to me. And if you're really lucky, I may be able to sell you a product, but we're not sure. I mean, what a product we live in. And if we can remove that using AI, and we would love to get to a point where we are offering instant underwriting. And instant underwriting when you're insuring humans, as we are in the life and health industry, is not easy. Customer onboarding, knowing your customers, identifying your customers, fraud detection is a big area that we're focusing on, and then just general activity, admin, and this is what I was talking about, the training of the talent and making sure talent know how to use the tools and know how to apply it to their jobs. I also asked AI, we have an example of something we've developed called the Digital Buddy. And I asked 4.0, I put in, clearly I need to do better with the prompting. I said, we have developed a tool which sits on the desk when one of our life planners is talking to a customer. And it prompts the life planner to suggest products that might be suitable for the customer. It knows a lot about the customer. It knows a lot about our products. And because of demographic changes in Japan, we are now getting more and more younger life planners that aren't as experienced as our life planners that are retiring. So this tool is really necessary as part of the sales process. So we're also using AI as part of our sales process to augment the human experience. We feel particularly with life insurance that we are at a point in our customers' lives which is often a very sensitive one, particularly when you're dealing with claims. And that is very difficult at the moment to substitute that for AI. So augmentation is a big area we're focused on. So I don't think technology is useless. I think it's very useful. I don't think you can just take a new technology and put it on whatever it is you have now, whatever that structure is, whatever that ways of working is, whatever that business model is. I think it does need attention to these types of intangibles. And I am from the UK, and there's still some things we do reasonably well, I think, which is literature, and I couldn't miss quoting this. I think we do have a massive opportunity in what is often considered a sold-only industry to transform the industry using this wonderful technology, which is AI, to help our customers understand the products we sell, to give them and deliver to them a better service. But I think we need to be careful in those, paying attention to those intangibles. Thank you very much.
have no microphone. Can you hear me? Oh, there we go. All right, on to some questions. So I'm going to steal the first question. So obviously with AI being the focus, we still have a very people-heavy industry. What are your ideas on how to approach the people element of the movement towards AI?
So I touched on it just in the closing parts of my talk. If any of you do get an opportunity to go and sit in a claims call center, particularly for a health carrier or a life carrier, particularly a life carrier, you can hear some of the most heartbreaking, poignant conversations that you'll hear in your life. And when you listen, and our professionals are very well trained professionals, how they speak to the customers and how they engage with them, you realize that technology isn't going to replace that capability overnight. So what we have done is we've started to roll out tools that can help that service agent and help them improve their conversation, that can measure the temperature of the conversation, calm things down, use less of this language, this area is sensitive, this customer has had particular problems in this area. So I think it's one of augmentation is the first thing. The second thing, and I touched on it a bit, is to teach people, our talent, about the technology. So they're not afraid of it, they don't see it as a threat, and they see it as a massive opportunity to potentially automate part of their jobs, to drive their own productivity, and make sure the incentives are aligned with that. So you're not just giving them the tool, paying for the license for whatever it is, but you're saying, as you make yourself more productive, you'll be incentivized more effectively. And so then people aren't worried that, hey, am I just automating myself out of a job? There are bigger, other more productive things that you can do with your time. So those are some of the things that we're thinking about.
So there's a lot of questions rolling in now. There's one here around, and I'm not sure if you can answer this question, but how does Australia compare to other industries that you've worked in terms of this kind of technology uptake?
So I'm not a deep expert on the Australia market, you're right, but I have been working in this market coming back here for almost 10 years, so I know it to some extent. And I think it's highly competitive with its technical and digital skills. Forward thinking, some of the demonstrations I saw yesterday, again, from our local team here at TAL, are things that we're going to take to the rest of the organization. Some automation that we've put in place, again, developing 4.0 for claims processing is cutting edge and state of the art. So I think I've been since I started coming here, really impressed with the talent and really impressed with how that talent develops new technology and interacts with the global technology.
I must admit, I'm not sure on this question, but I'll ask you because you're the expert and I'm not. Someone has asked here that you spoke about Gen AI, and they're wondering if you have an opinion on computer vision and other areas of AI.
Well, I don't come from GI, and so obviously we don't get into LiDAR and all of these types of technologies very much. I'm not quite sure computer vision, what it particularly relates to. Is it a metaverse question? Because that's a whole category. Or is it related to automated self-driving cars, or you don't have enough information?
They lost me at computer vision, so I'm not sure on that one.
So I think if it is related to self-driving cars, it's the future of the auto industry. And I look forward to buying a car hopefully soon. Again, my expectations, having ridden in a Waymo, that will just come and pick me up and take me to wherever I want to, and is an extension of my living room. And computer vision, if that is whoever asked the question, what they meant by that, I think is what drives that opportunity.
Another question here. asking, is AI sometimes misunderstood for what it's there to do?
Well, it'd be easy enough to say yes, but that's an extremely deep question, actually, because I don't know that everybody is fully, I don't think there is consensus on what it's supposed to do yet. So I outlined a few things. I think it's there to bring fantastic experiences to our customers. I think our industry has in some areas a bad reputation. Some deserved, some not so. And this is an opportunity to remove terrible friction from what can be an awful buying experience. I'm sure if I asked you to put your hands up for those who had a fun claims experience versus those that had a bad one, I know which one would outnumber the other. There's an opportunity there to improve that and make it a wonderful experience. I walked down a main street in Tokyo on Saturday morning, and the shop I passed by is packed. That is not an insurance agency. That is an Apple store. And trying to think of our category in a similar vein as an Apple store is the opportunity that I think AI can offer us. And that's what I think, those are the type of problems that I think it can solve. But that is still an open question.
And leading technology at Dai-ichi, what do you see the future of technology at Dai-ichi-LIVE? What does it look like?
So we still see our business, our life business, still being people-led. That's what our customers have told us they want. And we see it being led in partnership with technology, being a people and technology-driven company where we're using data, AI, to create fantastic customer experiences, partnering with cutting-edge startups. We are a 120-year-old company, and part of what I was talking about, we suffer from some of those things. We've enjoyed huge success in the past, but what got us here won't get us there, and that's where we look for partnerships. We're one of Japan's largest investors in startups, and we continue to expand on the partnerships, and that's how I think our future will look.
Thank you very much, Stephen.